Good evening. I'm Erica Sargent.
And I'm Brad Edwards. Tonight, sources tell CBS 2 Eddie Johnson had been out drinking with a woman, not his wife, hours before he was found asleep at the wheel.
Our Charlie DeMar explains it's all part of the lie the mayor says cost Johnson his job.
Today I'm announcing that I terminated Eddie Johnson's employment as superintendent of the Chicago Police Department for cause effective immediately.
A decision handed down to Chicago's top cop this morning.
A lie is a lie. He told me something that happened that night that turned out to be fundamentally different than what he had portrayed to me and what he portrayed to members of the public.
The night in question, October 17th, just after midnight, when Superintendent Eddie Johnson was found slumped over the wheel of his black SUV near his Bridgeport home.
No, I fell asleep. Yeah, I fell asleep.
Johnson called a press conference later that day to give his side of the story, saying he forgot to take his blood pressure medication and got lightheaded behind the wheel. Later telling the mayor he also had a few drinks with dinner.
Every officer, regardless of rank, must uphold themselves to the highest of standards, and that includes me.
He was not caught off guard, and he had plenty of time to choose his words. And the choice he made was to communicate a narrative replete with false statements, all seemingly intended to hide the true nature of his conduct from the evening before.
Mayor Lightfoot said out of respect for Johnson's wife and children, she would not go into detail, only saying video evidence and the Inspector General's report itself led to her decision to fire him.
Perhaps in years past, someone in Mr. Johnson's circumstances would have been allowed to simply retire. Doing so today, in these circumstances, would have been inconsistent with who I am and with the kind of principled leadership I want to bring to the city. A lie is a lie. He told me something that happened that night that turned out to be fundamentally different than what he had portrayed to me and what he portrayed to members of the public.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot firing Superintendent Eddie Johnson. At no point did she refer to him by his now former title.
Mr. Johnson failed the hardworking members of the Chicago Police Department. He intentionally misled the people of Chicago, and he intentionally misled me.
There's a person asleep at the stop sign in a black Chevy Tahoe.
At the center of the mayor's decision, the night of October 16th, when Johnson was found passed out, slumped over the wheel of his car. Johnson told the mayor he had a couple of drinks with dinner, but to reporters, he chalked it up to a medication mix-up.
Somebody being asleep in a car doesn't mean they're impaired in any way.
Johnson intentionally misled the public in a press conference he called.
The mayor isn't going into details, but says she's reviewed portions of the Inspector General's ongoing investigation into the October night in question, including video evidence. Lightfoot said firing Johnson was her only choice.
Well, at some point, the IG's report may become public, and those details may be revealed. I don't feel like it is appropriate or fair to Mr. Johnson's wife or children to do so at this time.
Interim Superintendent Charlie Beck seen leaving CPD headquarters today, starting his temporary role immediately, and now won't have Johnson as a sounding board. In a letter to CPD, Beck said, "I know the events of this morning likely caused a great deal of unease, but rest assured the department is stable, strong, and headed in the right direction."
Eddie Johnson engaged in conduct that is not only unbecoming, but demonstrated a series of ethical lapses and flawed decision-making that is inconsistent with having the privilege of leading the Chicago Police Department.
Mayor Lightfoot had already named former LA Police Chief Charlie Beck last month as the interim. She said during her press conference earlier today that he was already on a flight from Los Angeles and that he would be taking over effective immediately. Live in Bridgeport, Dana Rebick, WGN News.
And Mayor Lightfoot also suggesting today that other supervisors and commanders could be implicated in the Inspector General's report. As for Johnson's pension, he will keep it because he hasn't been charged with a felony. In fact, he hasn't been charged with any crime. Live in the control room, Charlie DeMar, CBS 2 News. Erica.
All right, Charlie, thank you.